Well, yep, it's raining again. Could have done without this because the ground was already saturated enough. I tell you guys right now it's going to be a late fall, and I don't know if it's going to dry out enough for me to get any tillage done. But it's only middle of October, so we still got probably five, maybe 6 weeks before tillage is out of the question anyway. I can still run combine in the snow. Running. I can't fucking talk. Running combine in the snow sucks, but it can be done. You just got to be careful with it. Hope it doesn't come to that, but got the this field behind the house done yesterday, and it did good. It was testing about 18. I'd have to look at the ticket again. I can't remember what the wettest was, but there wasn't anything over 19. It was all right around 18.5%. I think there was one load that was down to 7 or down under 18. I think it was like 17.8 or something out of the field, which is pretty good. But got that done. Wanted to cut beans, but since it rained Wednesday, and then we got real heavy dews, and then yesterday it was just real humid, and we got a heavy dew both, and it was overcast all day, and there wasn't any breeze, and the beans just never dried down. I went and checked a couple fields, and they were like chewing on gumballs. So I never did get to switch to beans yesterday. I tried running some more corn, but the next driest field I got was 22% moisture, so I'm just going to let that one sit a little while. And the long-term forecast isn't looking that great either, because we got a couple dry days, and then a couple days with rain, and then a couple dry days, and a couple days with rain, and it's just not looking good. Corn I'm not worried about. Beans, on the other hand, I'm starting to get a little worried. On the upside, as long as it does keep raining and they don't, it's not really an upside, but if you have to look at the bright side of things, if it keeps raining, the pods aren't going to dry out, and they're not going to start shattering on me. So, if you got to look at the bright side of things, I guess that's one bright side. But since it's raining today and I couldn't do anything, and nothing's broke, nothing needs fixed, everything's just sitting ready to go, but can't do anything, I figured, screw it. I've been working like a dog for 2 damn weeks. I'm going to take today and just not do anything and try to recuperate from, did I say 2 weeks? I meant 2 months. So I said, screw it, I'm going to take a day and try to catch up on rest. Because ever since we started seed corn harvest at work, I have not been able to shake this worn out, dog tired feeling. So, anyway, I'm just going to pop up here and take a seat. Since I'm not really doing anything today worth taking a video of, and there was some interesting comments made on that video I put up the other day, ranting about the trolls on YouTube and all that shit. And there were some interesting comments made about farming with used equipment. None of them were really bad. I was actually kind of surprised there weren't any assholes on that video. They were all decent comments. Most of them were all from guys that comment fairly often too, so there's that. But I just kind of wanted to take and I also get these questions a lot about, well, I get types of questions a lot about farming with used equipment, so I figured, what the hell, I'm not doing anything today, I'll just make a video talking about farming with used equipment. So I don't have to hold this damn thing the whole time, I'm just going to sit right here. The one thing that always cracks me up is the guys that have the misconception that farming with used equipment is harder than farming with brand new equipment. Now, I'm not going to say farming with farming with old equipment is easy or hard. Farming with used equipment takes a different set of skills, I guess is the best way to put it. And what I mean by that is, like this stuff, for instance, finding parts for Olivers isn't all that hard, because AGCO, as big and strung out of a company as that is, does a very good job of supporting this old stuff. So I'll give them that. We still get most of the, especially for the tractors and even for the combines, I still get a lot of parts straight from the AGCO dealer, brand new in an AGCO box. So parts availability is a real common misconception. It's not as hard as people think. You just need to know where to look, and that's one of them skills that, I guess if you want to call it a skill, that's the best word I can come up with for it. You have to know where to look for parts, and like the dealer we work with, we call in there so much because we get a lot of our restoration parts and all that stuff. And it actually happened, we were working on this damn thing, and I was calling like once a day with questions and all that stuff. They set us up with an account on AGCO Parts Book, which is basically an online website that has every parts book for every every parts book from every piece of equipment Oliver ever built, and Gleaner and New Idea and Moline and Cockshed. It's all on that website. You can go in, search by model number. It's got old stuff, new stuff. You can look up for Challenger and Massey Ferguson and all that shit. And the cool thing about that website is you can go in, and not only does it give you the original part number, like it'll give me an Oliver part number, it'll give you the new AGCO part number that supersedes that part number, so that when you're calling into the dealer, you can say, okay, you need such and such a part number, this is the AGCO number for it. Now, as far as common parts to come by, that's real. That it's not as hard as people think. I don't know where that stigma comes from. Finding parts for used equipment, especially like engine parts and bearings and stuff like that, easy. Especially with this older equipment, because it's unlike today where most parts on farm equipment are proprietary to that company. This shit's all component built. Hydraulic pump on this thing's a Vickers, still available remanufactured. I mean, bearings are all standard sizes, still made today. A lot of that stupid shit's easy to get. Engine parts, you can get engine parts for these things at Napa. I mean, it's not that hard. Now, where the different skill sets and patience kind of comes in is the harder to find parts. And for instance, at 525, when I busted the final drive a couple days ago, you're not going to go to no dealer and say, hey, I need a final drive for a 50-year-old combine. You got any on the shelf brand new? That's probably not going to happen. I'm not saying there's not a final drive laying on a shelf somewhere that's never been on a combine. Good luck finding it. So in that case, and where if you want to farm with used equipment and be successful at it, you have to anticipate what possibly is going to break and have parts located before you need them. Like with that 525, I know where there's 5 parts combines within 20 minutes of here. So I knew where there's 8 new final drives for that thing before it even broke. The one final drive I ended up getting was only 5 miles from the house, and I got it that same night. So if you're going to farm with used equipment and you want to be successful at it, you have to learn to locate parts before you actually need them. You need to know what salvage yards to call. You need to know who to talk to. You need to know what questions to ask. You need to have parts machines located so that if something major does break, you're not dicking around calling a bunch of salvage yards saying, hey, do you have this? You know which salvage yards have what machines, and you can call them straight away and say, hey, I need this. Yep, we got it. Throw it on a truck. Get it to me as fast as you can. Now, that is the biggest thing about farming with used equipment is knowing where to find parts. And all the guys that struggle farming with used equipment are the guys that don't know where to find parts or don't have the patience to take the time ahead of time to look for them before they actually need them. And there's a lot of guys that bitch about farming with used equipment because they try to get all of their parts through the dealer, and sometimes it's ungodly freaking expensive, but they won't take the time to look at aftermarket or used parts or anything like that. They just say, hey, I run this color piece of equipment, the dealer still supports it, we're going to get everything through the dealer, and it's expensive as hell. Now, I just got done saying we still get a lot of parts for these things through AGCO. Surprisingly, especially on the biggest thing is on bearings, AGCO is cheaper than shit. There are very few things you can buy aftermarket for these. The AGCO is not actually cheaper, and it's better stuff. There is, for a company that's not actually American based, it is amazing how many boxes of parts we get that say made in USA on them, or made in Canada, or made somewhere in Europe. There's not, now bearings, most of those say China, but I don't think there's a single bearing under 2 inches that's even made in the United States anymore. You might get lucky. I think Timken still makes some bearings in the US, but if you want Timken bearings, you're going to pay for them. They're good bearings, you're just going to pay for them. But like the gasket sets, engine components, especially the larger parts, so much of that stuff is made in the USA from AGCO. It's kind of amazing, actually, and that's why we try to stick with getting as many parts as we can from the dealership, is because, hey, made in the USA, go figure that. Now, the other common misconception that I saw in a lot of comments there is you have more downtime with used equipment. I'm going to say false. And the reason I say that is with used equipment, you might have more breakdowns in a season, but it's generally smaller shit. It's like, okay, we had a bearing go out, we had a belt go bad, blew a hydraulic hose, we had a universal joint go out, something stupid like that, something that's okay, 1 or 2 hour fix tops. And with new equipment, you might have fewer breakdowns in a season, but when they do break, you're going to pay for it. And I got 2 examples I can come up with you right offhand. One of them was from it's probably been 4 or 5 years ago now. A farmer out north of town here, actually I should say family of farmers, big red guy. First tractor he ever bought was a Farmall regular back in the 20s. They've been red ever since. A few years ago, they bought a brand spanking new, I can't remember if it's a 30 or 35 foot case draper header. I mean, brand new off the lot, never seen an acre. They had just opened the field up, hadn't run it for more than 45 minutes. A bearing went out in the wobble box and caught the end of the head on fire, and they damn near caught the field on fire. Mind you, that is with a brand spanking new head. 45 minutes of use, almost totaled it. They ended up fixing it, Case did cover it, but they ended up switching back to the rolled head and running that for a few days before they were getting that brand new one fixed. Days add up a whole lot faster than hours do. I'll take a 1 hour breakdown over a 2 day breakdown any day. Second story I got is one of my buddies down at school lives down southern Indiana, not Cody. You guys have seen him in a couple of videos. This is another guy. They have every planter they got's a Kinsey. Their planters are Kinsey. Their grain carts are Kinsey, or grain cart. They're real big Kinsey guys. And this would have been 2 years ago because he graduated from college a year ahead of me, and it was the year he was still down there. They bought a brand new, and I'm not up on the new Kinsey model numbers, but at the time it was a brand new Kinsey 16 row, and it was one of their brand new all-electric drive, individual row, fancy, high-dollar, high-speed planters. They got it, delivered it in early spring. The dealer went through with them, did all the setup on it, got it synced with the tractor and everything. They ran 150 acres with it. It spent the rest of the season in the farm shop with the guy from the Kinsey dealer there trying to figure out why the row units wouldn't talk to the computer since they were all electric drive. They ended up finishing out the rest of the season on their old Kinsey 3600 frame. That planter's like, how old would a 3600 be? I think that'd be at least early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s on that 3600. So that wasn't a couple days breakdown, that was a few weeks breakdown. And they couldn't figure out why that planter wouldn't talk to that tractor. So while the used equipment may break down a little more often than the new equipment, I'll bet your downtime comes out to almost the same. Because when these things break, you usually have them back up and running the same day. When a new one breaks, depending on what breaks, you might have it up and running the same day. And if you break it on a weekend and it's something, especially electrical, you ain't gonna be running it again that weekend because you're gonna have to call a dealer to have a tech come out and plug a computer in to tell you what's wrong with the damn thing. Now, the other thing that cracks me up is that there was a couple of guys on there that made comments thinking that I'm stupid and have no clue why we need to run new equipment. I've run my share of new equipment. Back when I was working on a farm north of town here, I spent a shit ton of time in a Cat 65. Back when I was still working there, it was a brand spanking new John Deere 8320R, John Deere 9560 combine, a couple brand new Kenworth. I've run my share of new equipment. I ain't stupid. I just don't like the shit. Biggest thing I got, I hate electric over hydraulic controls. I get on this thing, let's say, and actually a combine, that's a better example. Say I need to feather especially on that since I don't have automatic header height, say I need to feather the head on that 525 and I'm cutting beans, say I need to feather the head. I can hit that lever and ever so slowly move it forward and you can hear the oil start running through the valve and you know when that head's about to start moving and you can just inch it if you need to. All the new equipment now is going to push button control and finger switches. Which are fine. With finger switches, you can still, the way they have them set up now with variable frequency, you can still feather the hydraulics, but there's lag time because it needs to send an electrical signal to the solenoid, and then the computer needs to figure out figure out the voltage so it knows how to far open the solenoid to feather that. It's just, I don't like it. Just my thing. I know I've run a fair amount of it, so I'm not stupid. It's not like I don't know what I'm talking about. Although I will say that Cat Challenger, at the time I was running it, it wasn't brand new. I think it was 4 or 5 years old, but I loved the hell out of that thing. But it was also old enough it still had regular hydraulic levers. The power shift was one big lever. You could actually bang through the gears. That thing was fucking awesome. I'd buy one of them things in a heartbeat. Well, I wouldn't say I'd buy it in a heartbeat because I think a 4-track tractor is better than a 2-track tractor, but I would run one again in a heartbeat, we'll say that. So, Um, the other thing I get is there's a lot of guys that'll ask me like to recommend them a piece of equipment or something to that effect, which I won't do because my opinions and my preferences are going to be different than your opinions and your preferences, and what I like and what you like is going to be two different things. So I'm not going to tell you what you should buy, because chances are if I tell you something you ain't going to like it. But if I had to give some advice on it, it will be this. If you're just getting into this stuff and you don't have any background in it and you kind of lack any, not to sound like an asshole, but if you lack any mechanical ability or experience, for your first piece of equipment, you might want to lean towards something just a shade bit newer. And I'm not saying it has to be brand, but something like late 80s, early 90s, something where parts are really, something where you can get almost every part from a dealer. There's good dealer support on it. If you have questions, you can call somebody and they actually half-ass know what you're talking about and kind of help you out. Because it's a whole lot easier to learn when it's easy to get help. This stuff, for instance, like we go get all our stuff through Mayball. They've been an Oliver dealer since forever, and they still service these things. So when we call out there, if we have a question about it, we can call out to the service desk and one of the guys can help us. Not every dealer is going to be like that, especially since Case and New Holland and Deere have started their whole dealer consolidation bullshit where every dealer has to update their showroom and all this crap. And like, there's not a single old John Deere dealer left around here. Every one of them, that building is less than 3 years old. Because Deere went through and set up a whole different new set of standards for their dealerships, and basically what it did was it forced all the old mom and pop dealers out, and they formed these big conglomerates. And now the one we got around here is Greenmark, and I think they've got 8 or 9 dealerships now throughout Michigan, Indiana, and I think even Ohio. Part of the reason why dealer service went to shit is they're all corporations now instead of mom and pop. They know you when you walk in the door type of places. But you get into dealers like that, most of the old guys that know this old shit won't put up with the new bullshit and they quit. So any of the guys you got working at the parts counter or in the service department are younger guys, don't know a damn thing about this stuff. Not the case with every dealer. Some of them are still real good at supporting this stuff. Some of them are still real knowledgeable about this stuff. But if you don't have a dealer like that, it's easier to get a little bit newer piece of equipment that somebody actually knows what they're talking about, and use that as your learning tool to figure out how to source parts and how to turn wrenches and how to do maintenance and how to basically learn how to work on a piece of equipment. And then once you get your hands dirty and understand how things work and feel comfortable, if you still feel the need, you can buy an older piece of equipment and you can more easily fumble your way through it, and eventually you just start getting better and better at it. Like, when I started farming, the only tractors we had were the 77, the 66, the 4-speed 60, and then that Super that doesn't run. That Super 77 diesel that's got the blown motor in it. Damn, that's been a long time ago. When we got this thing, we didn't know a damn thing about it. Never worked on a 310 before, never even been on a 55 series Oliver. Since then, I know every nut and bolt from the front to the back of this thing. Easy. Every once in a while, still got to call in Mayball because we got a stupid question, can't figure it out, manual won't answer it. Doesn't happen that often anymore. And obviously we've picked up a few more pieces of equipment over the last 7 years. But that's the other thing. If you're going to run this old stuff, get books. Books are nice. You can get a lot of them in electronic form. I hate them because there's just something about having a piece of paper you can flip to a page. Boom, there it is. Plus, if you take a computer out, you got greasy hands and shit. Just, I don't know, there's something about a manual, greasy pages in it. Just kind of nostalgic, I guess. But get books. They're out there. Reprints, originals, get them on eBay, tractor shows, get books. Yeah. What else? I know there was more. I'm sure there was more. Da-dum. Oh yeah. So if you had a day like I did Sunday where everything goes wrong at the same time, I wasn't frustrated, but I was stressed to the max, I guess. That doesn't really happen that often. I've never had a day like that before. That's the first time I ever had a day where everything I touched went wrong. Some would say it's because I was working on a Sunday. That's not the first time something like that's happened on a Sunday, so I'm starting to think there might be a thing to that, but when you try to farm part-time and work full-time, I'm still going to work on Sundays. And so if something like that happens, you can't get frustrated at it. You just kind of got to do what I did and walk away from it for a minute. Like, Sunday I was to the point. The 7300 was back in the barn. The radiator shroud was all smashed to hell. Guy wasn't texting me back on that parts combine. I was getting real stressed out. Couldn't do anything anyway, so I just went in the house. I laid down for an hour and took a nap because I was so stressed to the point where I was literally making myself tired. After I did that, I got back up, got a text from the guy. Dad and I went over, got that final drive off at 7:30 Sunday night. Things were back to gravy. I felt good again. We're rolling. So if you have days like that where shit starts breaking, you can't get discouraged about it. You just kind of gotta say, okay, shit happens, it broke, I can fix this, get me the parts, let's rock and roll. If you're one of them people where if something breaks you start throwing wrenches and shit, fuck, motherfuck, blah kind of people, you probably shouldn't be farming with older equipment, because when stuff breaks, you're going to be angry about it. And then you're going to be one of them guys where, oh, you can't farm with new equipment, or you can't farm with old equipment, it breaks too much, and downtime, and yada, yada, yada. No. You'll still get the job done. It may take a little bit longer, but this stuff will get you through it just fine. So, yeah. There's a lot of rambling in there, and hopefully some of it kind of half-ass made sense to you. Yeah. I guess that kind of covers most of the comments I had seen on that video or have gotten over the past year. For now, anyway. There may be another video like this in the future if more comments and questions come up. I'm kind of curious to see how many assholes show up on this video. I'm sure it'll be awesome. So, and I'm sure there's going to be some very interesting conversations show up on the comments on this video as well. So, yeah. So, contrary to the belief of some of the guys that left comments on that video, I got nothing against people who like to run new equipment. I got nothing against. I understand why people need to run new equipment. It wouldn't be if we had to cover this stuff. We'll cover the acres that we're farming now. We just need a whole lot more farmers to do it because it'd take more equipment than what we use now. Thing is, this new equipment that we use now ain't gonna be kicking in 20 years. It's gonna be melted down and turned into another new piece of equipment while this stuff's still running, provided we can still buy the fuel to run it. So today there's a whole different philosophy. Today's stuff's built for speed, and it's basically meant to be throwaway. Use it till it wears out, melt it down, build a new one. This stuff was meant to be, or built to be maintained. And I'm sure there's going to be some people that disagree with that. Oh, engineering principles haven't changed over the years. Bullshit. This stuff's so overbuilt compared to what it needs to be. This video keeps coming back to combines, but combines are the perfect example. When that 525 was built, if you got 100 bushel an acre on corn, you were having an awesome year. You were really rocking it. 85, 90 bushel, that was fairly average. I've shelled 200 bushel corn with that combine. That is double the capacity of what that thing was designed to run. I want to see you take a new combine and try to run 400 bushel corn through it. Or, well shoot, I ran 250 bushel corn with that 7300. That's almost triple what that combine was meant to build, or was meant to run. So let's even do you one better. Let's try to take a new combine and run 600 bushel corn with it. I doubt it'd do it, because you look at it, I mean, they're heavy machines, don't get me wrong, but as far as being overbuilt compared to the size of machine they are, they're basically built to be the size of machine they are. They aren't overbuilt. And I'm sure there's people going to disagree with that statement, and if you don't believe it, well, you're in some kind of denial I've never even heard of. But, yeah. Anyway, I guess I need to end this video, otherwise I'm just going to keep rambling on and ranting a little bit. So, yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what the comments turn into on this one. So, I guess that does it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one.